afternoon, everybody. We are back for another episode of the Pristine Connections Podcast. I am sitting with Chris McDaniel, who heads the Pristine Luxury Remodeling Division and the Residential Roofing and Outdoor Division, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for joining our show today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you started?
So I moved to Dallas in 2018, and previously to that, I was in San Diego, California for 3 years. And so the genesis that started me getting into remodeling and real estate was my girlfriend and I were going to move here and get into something, and we didn't know what, right? So when I was in San Diego, I was an admissions counselor for 3 years for 7 different drug and alcohol rehabilitation programs. And so coming here, I was very familiar with Dallas and very familiar with the market because I used to do business here. She wanted to get into remodeling, and to believe it or not, she asked me and I told her no for like 6 months because I didn't want to be in business with my significant other, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I knew nothing about it. I mean, I knew nothing about real estate. I knew nothing about flipping houses. And I just knew the learning curve that was going to be ahead of us. And I just didn't know if I wanted to take that on once again with my significant other. But then she said that she was going to do it. She finally convinced me to do it. And it really took one for me. The first project that we did was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It should have taken 3 months, but it took over a year. But I fell in love with the process.
Absolutely.
And I fell in love with turning something, quote unquote, ugly into something beautiful again.
Yeah.
I loved that process.
And so what made y'all move from San Diego to Dallas then?
She was an empty nester, and I had done a lot of business here. In my previous life, even before I was an admissions counselor, I used to sell a lot of high-end residential and commercial fitness equipment. And so my biggest vendor was here. So I managed some retail stores in Arkansas, Missouri, and Kansas, but I used to come to Dallas a lot because my biggest vendor was here. So I had always hoped and envisioned like landing here long term as like my last spot, right? And so when she and I were in California trying to decide what we were going to do, I had said, hey, have you ever been to Dallas? And so then whenever we flew here for the first time, especially from California, she fell in love with pricing here, but she also just fell in love. I mean, Dallas feels like home. She grew up in a small town in the state of Washington, so she's not a Californian. And I grew up in Kansas. So this is just, a bigger version of home for both of us.
Yeah, a way bigger version for
Yes,
sure. Now you got to go to the outskirts
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So you have you just have a broad work life, basically just different industries that you've been part of, and then ultimately just landing in the remodel space. So how's that been going so far?
Like I said, I absolutely love it. I mean, when I first moved here in 2018, our first flip, I knew nothing about real estate. I knew nothing about contracting. And, I would ask a lot of questions that I did not know the answer to. And so I didn't know if they were telling the truth, right? But then as I started to learn more, I started to ask a lot of questions that I did know the answer to. And when they were telling me something that I knew was false, then I just knew to kick that person off my land, basically. And so I can see why some folks flip one house or just do one project because it's really hard. But it's like anything else in life, whether you're a lawyer or a garbage man or a doctor, it just takes time to get good. And then as you get better at it, generally speaking, that passion grows, which makes you even better at it because now you enjoy it, right? So I just was not going to go down without a fight. So I said, we're going to do another one. And then the next one was kind of more of the same. And then that's when I took the real estate course through Champions to become a realtor. I took the MLO course through Champions to be a mortgage loan originator so I could know that side of the business because I just attack everything scholastically, right? Whether it's right or wrong, that's just kind of how my brain's wired. And so then I also got embedded in a lot of Facebook groups for contractors. And then I started to meet honest contractors. And I just figured I can run the show myself, right or wrong. It's not a place of arrogance. I'm just not afraid to make a mistake. Right? I mean, sometimes in life, you just have to be that guy.
Right.
And I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've learned from them, hopefully, which just makes me more passionate about what I do, which once again makes me like it more, which makes me even better at it. So at least I hope it translates into making me better.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you went ahead and got your real estate license. From an investor side, because I used to work for an investment company, it's very saturated here. There's so many investors trying to dip in and learn, but it's such a great space to be in, especially like you said, when you get the hang of it and you start really loving it and you're finding just all these great projects. But you also need to be careful, like you said, with contractors. I mean, there's so much going on and everything is so fast moving. But just having the knowledge that you have and being able to just say, hey, I'm just going to have my own one-stop shop for everything is huge.
Exactly. And especially when you're flipping a house, I mean, you had just mentioned speed. And speed is really the key, right? I mean, the longer you hold on to that asset, just the more money it costs you. But I had to figure out a way where I could mix speed in with quality work. Like
Right.
we weren't cutting corners. And for transparency, I did not get licensed as a realtor, and I never planned on it. I
Oh,
just took
okay.
the course
Oh,
because I wanted to know, once again, when I talked to a real estate agent that was representing an on-market deal, I would ask her a question, and she's like, "Oh, I can't tell you that. You're lying to me. I know you can tell me that." I just wanted to know. I hate being that guy that doesn't know, right? And so once again, right or wrong, that's just how I've focused and been successful in whatever I've done. I've just tried to learn as much as I can about it.
yeah.
So I didn't get licensed as an MLO either, but I took the course through Champions on my own dime just to learn the financial side of it. What hard money lending is compared to traditional lending, things of that nature. Just terms that if you're not in that industry, you have no idea what it means. Why would you?
Yeah. I love that. That's really
Yeah.
great. I've never met an investor that has done that, which is, I think that's great. It's a big asset. So you're obviously in the luxury remodeling space. So are you putting that into flips as well? So doing more of the high end flips?
I will do any, but that has been more of my bread and butter, meaning the first flip that I ever did, we sold for $442,000 and it was in Plano. The last two that I did were both in Preston Hollow. One sold for 1.1 million and then the other sold for 1.2. So I'm really proud of those, not because of the dollar amount or the end all be all. That's not what drives me. But what did drive me was I broke my own price per square foot record for something that wasn't a new build. So I set it at 385, and then in the exact same neighborhood, I broke that record at 402 a foot. So I'm just proud of that because
Yeah.
we presented a project to a new homeowner that they don't have to worry about. And I was not, at the time that I was heavily into flipping, I was not like other investors, which, to be honest with you, are maybe way better at it than I am. I was at my project every day, all day, and I would do one project at a time because that also alleviated the mistakes from happening. I was right there because you have to make decisions on the fly. Even if it's an on-market deal, when your guys ask you questions, you have to know because that will just cut that time frame down as much as possible. And so I'm proud of being able to be there and answer those questions for those guys to turn a product into something as fast as possible, but still quality.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you, factor in the residential roofing side to the remodel? Do those go hand in hand or a lot of those projects separate?
They all go hand in hand because I am not a GC and I am not a roofer. And I tell people that I'm a businessman. I treat customers completely different than what a normal GC does. Whenever I approach a project with a homeowner, I take those projects very personal. And so whether I'm doing an accent wall for a client or remodeling a bathroom, when I tell my guys to show up at 9 a.m., they know it means 9 a.m. because I'm there at 8:45. And they just understand that that's just how I'm wired because I'm approaching this from a business standpoint. I can't tell you how many electricians I've met that are fantastic electricians or plumbers that I've met that are fantastic plumbers or framers or painters, but they're horrible businessmen and women. They don't understand what 9 a.m. means. 9 a.m. to them means, 2 o'clock. That doesn't mean they're bad folks. They're never going to grow their business because they don't understand customer service. And I do think because of maybe it's internet or whatever it is, we've lost that. But people in my generation and a lot of my clients have not. And they appreciate, whenever I say 9 a.m., that means 9 a.m. And that means they get a text from me at 8:30 saying, I'm en route. And I'm like, wow, this guy, he's treating me differently than maybe the other quote unquote GC. Because once again, I'm not a GC.
Sure.
I treat them the way I want to be treated.
Yeah.
I'm still a consumer. I shop for TVs that I know nothing about or mattresses that I know nothing about. And I want, whenever I go somewhere to spend my money, I want somebody to help me make that decision that's informed. That's what I'm there to do.
Yeah.
Is to help them spend their money in the most efficient way, but to give them peace of mind it's going to be done correctly.
Yeah. Keyword is informed that you just said for sure.
Sure.
I think an education side is big because, like I said, everything's at our fingertips now. You can Google a lot. You can watch, videos on YouTube of like, how do I fix this or how do I do that? But people are slowly stop relying on the experts, I feel like, or they start questioning maybe
100%.
how much you do or don't know, or somebody else can do it for cheaper or
Yep.
whatever it may be. That's really common, I feel like.
It is. So I fix a lot of other contractors' mistakes. And I can't tell you how many times somebody said, well, I Googled this and this is how you're supposed to do it. And I'm like, well, who told you that? Some dude in Tucson, Arizona that's not a plumber?
Yeah.
Well, how about you listen to my plumber that's licensed in this state that actually
Mm-hmm.
plumbs for a living?
Yeah.
So you got advice from somebody. And that's okay. I mean, I understand because once again, I already said I attack things scholastically also. I try to learn as much, but there's also just a level of let's hire a professional to do this. Like, I'm not going to fly today because I don't have a pilot's license. So I'm not going to Google anything. But, it's just things, you earned your money. Let me help you. Let me decide the best avenue to spend it. And not for profitability sakes for me, but just to be efficient and effective with whatever you're doing at your home.
Absolutely. So kind of tell me your drive and what motivates you, just besides treating others the way you want to be treated. I mean, tell me more about what motivates you every day to get up and do your best at these companies.
So I'll tell you, and this is kind of a generic canned answer, but it's the truth, and that's sleeping well at night. Meaning when I first got into this industry, dealing with contractors, dealing with real estate agents, dealing with buyers, dealing with people that knew what they were talking about, and I didn't. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of sleepless nights for me, and a lot of me curling up in a ball like, oh no, what am I doing? Like, what did I get myself into, right? Because I didn't have any background in it. And I still am not the guy that's going to turn a wrench or fix anything. I can tell you when the painting is off, but my painter knows how to fix it. I don't know how to fix it. Mm-hmm. So I don't ask them to do my job, and they don't ask me to do theirs. Yeah. So when I tell them, hey, that painting looks bad, what do you want me to do? I want you to fix it, is what I want, because that's what I'm paying you for. Yes. So I do have a very good general knowledge of construction, but I just know what a finished product should look like. And so me having peace of mind working with the people that I do work with, which make me look really good because I trust them, but sleeping at night, knowing that, hey, I'm doing this project, however big or small it is, the way I would if it was my own. Like so that passion, it can be a big plus, but it also sometimes can be a minus because I sometimes take things personally when I shouldn't because it's still business, right?
You're human.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'm still human, but I just enjoy what I do. And that's all. At the end of the day, I just enjoy what I do and I want to be good at it.
Yeah, I can see your passion. So does your wife also work with you at Pristine then, or is she doing her own
No, so
thing?
I'm not married. So the
okay.
who I came here with, I am now no longer with.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry.
No,
okay.
that's okay. But no, but I got this passion for this. So I can't tell you the countless hours of watching Chip and Joanna on their shows or Flip, all those shows because I wanted to learn the construction side and now the design side. And I say now meaning because the design side is ever changing, right?
Yeah.
So I try to tell the customers that I work with that I am not a designer, but then I show them the work that I've done, that I did have some input in from my business partner, but a lot of those decisions were autonomous and I made on my own for design choices, tile choices, paint choices, which there's a very consistent theme in all the houses that I've done too.
Yeah.
But they say, oh, wow, just do that in this bathroom. And I'm like, yeah, that's 2.5 by 8 Chloe tile from Bedrosians. I know exactly what it is because I picked it out. And they're like, oh, wow. So we're getting kind of the best of both worlds because I am not a designer. But I have been successful in that realm, so I can show them pictures of my previous work where they can just say, oh, just do that here. That looks good. And I already know what it is.
That's fantastic. Wow. All right. Well, so I guess since you talked about knowing that paint's off and somebody needs to fix it, what are some crazy stories that you've come across in some of your projects? I
can just tell you, in real estate, especially when dollar amounts go up, it just brings people out of the woodwork. So I kind of use the term with my staff now, but I use it collectively, and I've even said it here that, I don't ask you to do my job, so don't ask me to do yours, right? So most of my deals, whenever I was flipping houses, were on-market deals. They weren't from wholesalers. So I went to an open house, the first house that I flipped in Preston Hollow. It was an on-market deal, and the real estate agent, I had asked her a question, and she said, well, I can tell you that it's this many square feet and it's this many bedrooms. And I was like, well, that's not what I asked, but okay. Which basically told me she didn't want to do her job. And I won't name names or anything. So then 2 days later, I get an email from a wholesaling company that got it under contract. So I emailed her and I said, I don't know what, like if you just don't like me or what, but you had a cash buyer in your home this weekend and you didn't have to sell it to a wholesaler. And her response was, I didn't sell it to a wholesaler because the wholesale company didn't tell her that they were a wholesaler.
Oh.
So they were dishonest with her. So then I sent her the packet from the wholesale company. And she said, oh, my Lord, I'm going to contact them. So now she's upset with me because she thinks that I called her out, which I was just saying I would have bought it. So then the wholesale company called me. And I said, well, maybe you should have been honest with the real estate agent
Yeah.
because they're representing the seller of the home. So just maybe you should be don't get mad at me because you got lied and got caught,
Yeah.
right? But that type of stuff happens all the time, unfortunately, in real estate, but just in contracting.
Yeah.
I pride myself on, if I'm doing a project that the homeowner doesn't find the mistake before I do. Like before they come home, I call or text them and say, hey, by the way, we used the wrong color of tile or the wrong schluter or the wrong sheen it was supposed to be flat on the ceiling, but we didn't, I try to find those mistakes because you had said it, we're all human. We all make mistakes. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like nobody died on the table because we painted it the wrong color,
yeah.
right? And so we just have to keep that in mind. And that's where, once again, a good night's sleep is monumental to me.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, we'll fix everything. It's okay. But I take pride in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked a lot about kind of the remodel side. Do you want to tap into the roofing side and kind of what you're working on now?
Sure.
Things that you're looking for.
Sure. So with roofing, it is a different animal just because insurance is at play. Yeah. And most homeowners, and I say most, I mean the vast majority, we're just replacing like for like. Their roof has damage from wind and hail, and so we're just fixing that, right? And I say fixing, we're re-roofing it for them. Mm-hmm. But once again, I'm not a roofer and I'm not a general contractor. I look at myself as a trusted advisor. I have done a lot of free roof inspections where I've looked the homeowner in the eye and say, you have damage, but it's not really from hail. It's because, you just have a decaying roof that insurance isn't going to cover. Or you do have some hail damage, but you don't have enough, in my personal professional opinion, that an insurance company is going to say yes to a claim on. So if you as a homeowner want to still file a claim, I will still advocate for you, but I'm just letting you know that it may not pass. And I think that transparency, people appreciate that. So then they may say, hey, you also flip houses. Well, we have a wall that we might want removed because we're opening up our kitchen or anything like that. Just that transparency in roofing and contracting sometimes isn't as prevalent as I had hoped it would be. Mm-hmm. However, that's also what makes us stand out.
Yeah.
And I think our customers appreciate that.
Yeah. I would love your input. So a lot of roofers, obviously, online ahead of storms, will talk about like, we have hail coming, just think about your roofers as a storm blows through. But you mentioned wind, and I don't think enough roofers talk about wind damage or homeowners even knowing. We've had a lot of wind this year. We have. But what's too much that could possibly damage your roof?
So the disadvantage with wind-specific damage, if there is not hail, is it's just tough to have an insurance company approve a claim.
Yeah, how do you
so
prove it?
Even if it's real damage, and I also want to say this too, because I've said maybe some negative things, there's a lot of really good roofing companies out there.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of people that I do not consider my competition. They are my friends that are in this space, that if I can't do something, I will refer them out and vice versa. So there are and those people will stand the test of time. The others just the chuck in a truck, come and go, right? So, but wind damage specifically, it's just tougher to get that approved through insurance, unfortunately, because you can't say that specific is wind. They will make up, an adjuster may come out and say, well, that wasn't wind. Where hail damage is just easier to spot as opposed to blistering on a roof or wind specific. So it's tougher for an insurance company to deny that claim. I think that's probably why roofers don't talk about it as much, but you're right. They do generally go hand in hand.
Yeah. I just think because I live in a new neighborhood, but not all builder quality is created equal. And so I think about, there's not many homes between me and the next fully built home. And we've had a ton of wind. And I'm like, do we have wind damage? Has it been that bad?
and that's a thing that I really think most folks should understand, that if they're dealing with a reputable roofing company, whether it's mine or another, get a free inspection.
Yeah.
I mean, we offer free inspections. Obviously, we are a for-profit business, so we want to make money. But it is a free inspection. We come down. I have an iPad. I don't use my phone. I try to get as big a pictures as possible to show the homeowner, this is what I saw up there, okay? And I show them right there on the spot. Other companies may or may not do that. And then I send them the report after, even if they didn't have damage. I'll say, hey, do you want me to send all this to you to show you? Just so then you can talk about it with your significant other at a later date, like, hey, we do want to file a claim or we don't. But I do see a lot of roofs that don't need anything. And they may just have a little bit of damage. And I say, hey, if you don't have any water intrusion right now, which generally you don't, there's some stuff going on up there, but it'll still pass a home inspection if you want to sell it, which really, I mean, that type of stuff is key.
Right.
As long as it's functioning properly, Is it ugly? Maybe. And can we fix something or make some repairs if that's the way you want to go? I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever.
Good to know. Really good to know. I would love to hear some of your business challenges. You're obviously very passionate about leading your teams, making sure everybody's on time, doing good work. What are some challenges that you've been facing?
I think that it is just, unfortunately, I think over the past 10, 15, 20 years or so or whatever, roofers, quote unquote roofers, there's a negative connotation with that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of good roofing companies, which I already said, that still get lumped into that, right? Because there's door knocking and just the process, how it works. And so whenever I want to bring on a new member of our team or whenever I'm trying to talk to a homeowner, I try to not impress them, but I try to impress upon them that I am different. If you don't want me to do an inspection, I'll leave. That's okay. Or if I do an inspection and I saw damage and you don't want to call me back after that's fine too. I'm not going to hound you. I mean, I'm here to help and show you this is what I saw. But now we have grown a little bit and we have gotten so busy. I don't chase after that kind of stuff. Once again, I can sleep at night because I told you as a homeowner, yes or no, you shouldn't file a claim. Now the ball's in your court. It's your house. It's not my house. I'm not going to spend your money for you. That's not my place, right? So I just bring on other members that understand what we're really trying to do. It's not about big trucks, fancy logos, and it's about genuinely, hey, if you want us to get up there, we can look and let you know what's going on. And then just give you our honest opinion from somebody that's trained and that does this every single day. Once again, there's other people out there that do it that are good also. But we also have members of our staff that are really good on the insurance side, that know the verbiage in and out and what we can make a claim on and can't make a claim on. Is this fence really damaged from hail or not? Or was this one stained? So can we get it restained from the insurance company? Will the insurance company pay for that? Because they should. It should be something that, it should be in the condition that it was before. So we really fight for homeowners on that aspect. And our homeowners see that because we're out there meeting with the adjuster on their behalf and going up on the roof with the adjuster if needed, or the homeowner doesn't have to do that. And whenever they're running into issues with the HOA for roof color or gutter color, we are there to point them in the right direction. Say, okay, this is the color that it is, or this is the color that your HOA has already approved, so you've got to pick one of these. Even if it wasn't the same as before, but there's a list that you can go with. Or stain color. And they don't feel like they're on their own through this process.
That's great. That's really great. Well, I would love some advice for the younger generation that might be interested in getting into the remodel space, the GC space, roofing, all of that.
I think that if they're anybody in business, whether they get into contracting or roofing, if they're younger and thinking about it, first of all, go for it because it's a lot of fun. And if you have a passion for it, you never work a day in your life, right? But just treat it like what it is. It's a for-profit business, and it is not transactional. It is relationships. And one of the reasons why the roofing side is so busy now is because of relationships that me and the other members of the team have made over the past 5 years, that now we're getting so many referrals. And we are not special, but we do what we say. And that's all. And that gets lost in not only contracting, but I think in service overall, because you go and have to buy a value meal at McDonald's for $12 now, but you don't talk to a person. It's just weird now, things, whether it's good or bad long term, it's just different. And so we have to evolve, but customer service should never evolve. Being honest with folks should never evolve. And members of our staff understand that. And hopefully that's translated now to the homeowners, the people that we serve, that are ultimately our bosses.
Yeah. Well, this was really great. I appreciate all the tidbit of information you gave. How can our viewers find you and reach you?
Sure. So we're on Facebook. It's Pristine Luxury Remodeling. It's Pristine Roofing and Outdoor Services. Our remodeling website is pristineluxuryremodeling.com or pristineroofingandOutdoorServices.com. We service Plano, Allen, McKinney, Dallas, Salina, everywhere. And if there's a spot that we don't service, or if we think somebody else is a better fit, we've told people that, say, this is really not in our wheelhouse. You should contact somebody else that is maybe a little bit better fit for you.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll make sure we get all that added to the podcast when it goes out. Any final thoughts? Anything else that you would like to share?
No, just I appreciate you guys having me. As you can kind of tell, I do get amped up and passionate about this, but it translates into good things for the homeowner.
Yeah.
Eventually, at least that's what I hope. Yeah. And that's what it has so far.
No, this is great. I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.